In the fading light of an American desert evening, when heat still clung to the air and shadows stretched like memories men tried to forget, a stranger walked into the town of Red Hollow. He carried nothing but a worn jacket and a past he had buried deep. His name was Ethan Cole, though few would hear it spoken aloud. Red Hollow was the kind of place where names mattered less than reputations, and his reputation had arrived long before he did, whispered through saloons and behind shuttered windows. Once, years ago, a man with his face had ridden out of town accused of murder, betrayal, and cowardice. Now, that same man had returned on foot, older, quieter, with eyes that had seen too much and learned to say nothing. The town noticed immediately, because small towns always do, especially when ghosts come back wearing flesh, as Ethan walked past the sheriff's office without looking inside, past the church whose bell once rang for his disgrace. Every step echoed with judgment, but he did not come back for forgiveness, nor for revenge. He came back because the woman who once believed in him had died, leaving behind a boy who carried his eyes and his silence. The boy lived in Red Hollow, under the care of a town that never forgave, and that was something Ethan could no longer accept. Survival teaches a man many things, but it teaches him most clearly what matters when everything else is stripped away. He reached the edge of town where the boy worked in a stable. Heads turned, hands tightened on tools and gun belts, and old wounds opened. Ethan saw fear in the boy's eyes before recognition, and that moment cut deeper than any bullet ever had. Blood remembers, even when minds are taught to forget. Trouble did not take long to find him. It never does. The men who once framed Ethan for a crime they committed themselves were now the men who owned Red Hollow, respected, protected, untouchable. His return threatened the very lies that kept them powerful, so they watched him closely, waiting for him to make a mistake. Ethan knew Italiano, but estate. He fixed fences, helped strangers without names, and slept in a broken-down shack on the edge of town, slowly proving with action what words could never fix. The boy watched from a distance, torn between curiosity and fear, taught by the town to hate the man who shared his blood. But children see cracks where adults build walls. As days passed, danger thickened like dust before a storm. Truth has weight, and when it starts to rise, it pushes lies toward the surface. The town's preacher warned Ethan to leave or face God's judgment. Ethan only nodded. He had lived long enough to know that God did not speak through fear. Men did. When violence finally came, it didn't come loud at first. It came as false accusations, stolen supplies. A fire set near the boy's stable meant as a warning, and that was when Ethan stopped walking quietly. Some lines, once crossed, demand a stand. Under a burning sun at the center of Red Hollow, Ethan faced the men who once destroyed him. Not with rage, but with truth. He laid out the past piece by piece, names, dates, scars. The reason they feared him was not his strength, but his survival. A dead man cannot speak, but a living one can shatter an entire town built on lies. As the boy stood watching, hearing the truth for the first time, the town felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. And doubt is the beginning of collapse. When guns were finally drawn, it was not Ethan who fired first. Justice rarely arrives clean, but it arrives heavy. When the dust settled and silence returned, Red Hollow was no longer the same. Men were arrested, power was broken, lies were exposed, and a boy stood beside a man he no longer feared. Ethan Cole, who once walked out of town with shame on his back, walked away again. This time, not alone. Not running, but choosing. Redemption is not about erasing the past. It is about standing in it long enough for the truth to breathe. Under a wide American sky, the road stretched ahead, uncertain but honest. And for the first time in a long life, Ethan welcomed the weight of staying. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. This is Wild Tales Storytelling, where cinematic American stories of courage, truth, and redemption come alive you. Next story is already waiting.